Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to Hampden. Rangers 2, Motherwell 1 in the Scottish Premiership. Rangers get their first win of the season. Chris Jack, I thought they were good in the first half. It was the type of game for me in that if they'd got a third goal, it would have been a lot more positive come full time as the game played out. Although Rangers still had the lion's share of the chances, it was a bit edgy towards the end, wasn't it? It's not a game that in the end there's all that much to unpack apart from Rangers got that win. It would have been very different if Motherwell had got a late equaliser, and it was a lot of long throws, a lot of crosses into the box, but it did feel a bit edgy towards the end. But Rangers do get their first win of the season. We're going to unpack the first half, the second half, what the manager had to say, and get to some of your comments as well. But Chris, first and foremost, that was. Do you agree with that summary? That it was good in the first half. I think there was good elements to the play. Rangers created a lot of chances, but that feels a long time ago watching that second half.
Can we characterise it as the proverbial game of two halves?
I hate that.
Just to use a cliche straight away early on in the season. I thought first half Rangers were good in spells. Tierney obviously as the brightest spark in that. Second half was all a bit of a non-event until that last 15-20 minutes, and I think as both managers said, Motherwell then get a bit of optimism from that. They know they're still in the game, that a game that they shouldn't really have been in. If Rangers had taken their chances and Rangers had done their job properly, it should have been out of sight. But how many times have we seen that over the seasons? If you give teams like Motherwell the opportunity, they can put long balls in, they can try and come on top of you.
And it just takes one
and
moment,
it only takes one. It takes a poor decision. It takes a poor clearance. And how many times again have we seen that over the course of our respective times watching this team and previous incarnations of it? It's just something that Rangers have to get better at. The game management has to be better. And then by that, I mean, they have to kill these type of games off. You can't go into last 10, 15 minutes giving teams that chance to go and try and get something from it. Rangers definitely merited the 3 points. They're the better side. They had those moments of quality. Ultimately, it's one of these ones that you take the points, you move on. Big game, obviously, on Tuesday night. So I wouldn't get too high with it. I wouldn't get too low with it. It's a game that ticked off the game that had to be ticked off, and as you said, the first win of the season, and something to build on.
Comment here saying not all 3 points are the same. Inventive first half sets up meaningful qualifier with big squad implications. Let's talk about the first half first and foremost, Chris. We're going to come on to Václav Černý, Robin Proper. Again, on that second half, I think Rangers as a team don't look comfortable defending a 1-0 lead. Yeah, that's the type of, not 1-0 lead or 1-goal lead. That's the type of game I would say that you're going to get these games in a season. You're going to get them in different points. And if you come into a game like that in good form, then you know, okay, our performance maybe merits a win. But it was nervy towards the end, and I don't think it was helped by some of Rangers defending throughout. But in the first half, their expected goals was nearly 2 come half-time. Created a lot of opportunities. Cyril Desser's got a goal again. Václav Černý with a brilliant strike. But the tempo seemed better. Rangers were able to pin Motherwell back in their own box. We'll come on to the goal that they conceded as well, because that wasn't great. But I guess that was much like midweek. That was an example of what Clement's football can maybe look like when there is that intensity to it. And it was certainly better than what we saw against Hearts when we were speaking this time last weekend.
I think there was a lot more purpose about them in that first half. As you say, that's an improvement, I think, from Tuesday, which was definitely an improvement from, as you mentioned, this time last week. Or sitting at Tynecastle, going through that game, and there wasn't a lot there. There wasn't a lot of positives, certainly in an attacking sense. You thought there's not a lot to hang on here. The improvement between Saturday and Tuesday was noticeable. I think Rangers have stepped it up again. You would hope that they can go and step it up again come this Tuesday, now that Dynamo Kiev are heading off to Glasgow. I think there was positives there. Černy's the obvious one. You asked the manager about Conor Barron in the press conference. Again, I thought he was really impressive. So there are things there that Rangers can bank on and say we are now confident that they're heading in the right direction. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
It's never going to be perfect. Now, when this squad is still being assembled, when there's players within this squad who will still move on, the players that have come in are still getting up to speed. Now, the manager again outlined that when speaking about Černý and Robin Proper post-match. It's not a case of these guys sign and they're good to go straight. It's not Football Manager. You don't sign someone the day before the game and put them straight in and it's fine. There is life events that these guys have to deal with. Černý outlined a bit of that post-match as well. So I think if you look at these guys coming in, they should make a difference, and you have to be confident they will make a difference. Tierney obviously makes a huge difference in terms of the goal this afternoon. But I thought you saw when he came off after a really impressive 55 minutes, Rangers did drop off. They didn't look as inventive, to steal the word. It was in the comment there. They didn't look as creative, didn't have that same energy and that spark. I think that just shows you what he will bring to this side. And the challenge for the other squad members, so Ross McCausland coming on, I'm sure Scott Wright's name will come up. The challenge for these guys is, can they be as effective? I have my doubts. I have my fears that they won't be.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that they do have someone like Tierney within the squad. Now, he, as we spoke about pre-match, right wing has been a real problem for Rangers over recent seasons. And I think there's enough from what we've seen so far. The fans can be encouraged that he could potentially be the answer to that long-standing problem.
Yeah, and that's where I have sympathy for Clement, because you look at the impact that Tierney had today, and you look at the starting 11 that he has picked in these first few games of the season so far. That is not what the Rangers starting 11 will likely look like in a month. And you saw that, Scott Wright started every game so far. He's not going to be a key player under Clement. I think we can definitively say that, but there's still a lot of work to do within this squad, and players like Tierney still have to build up their fitness. I want to talk about the goal that Rangers conceded as well, Chris, because that is obviously a topic of conversation. Andy saying a terrible goal to lose, lack of urgency to stop the cross. I actually thought that the main issue about the goal that Rangers conceded was there was a bit of a breakdown. We've seen some issues with the way that they press man-to-man at points. There was a breakdown in communication, I thought, because the whole of the attacking unit went to press the ball. I think you've seen this with Man United a lot last season. The whole of the attacking unit went to press the ball. The defensive unit were kind of like, I don't know if we're going to go up, don't know if we're going to press here. I think it was Tavernier going into the midfield, didn't follow his man, and then that allows Motherwell to effectively have maybe a 3-against-4. Rangers still have the extra defender there. The cross isn't stopped. I think it takes a deflection off both the defenders, goes into the net. So it was an unfortunate goal to lose, but it still probably hammers home the point that Rangers defensively look suspect. I still think they need another centre-back. Now, Leon Balogun came onto the game because Robin proper cramped up, and he hadn't really warmed up. It didn't seem that much. He didn't look quite ready for it. He wasn't his normal assured self. But I still do think Rangers probably need another centre-back going into the remainder of the season. But just because of how much this setup, this system, with a man-for-man structure, relies on individuals to win their duels.
I think that it's similar in a sense to Tuesday night, not in terms of the way the goal was conceded, but the fact that it's Rangers making individual mistakes in bad areas and then being not reactive enough to solve those problems. There's obviously Tuesday night, it was Ridvan that made the mistake, as you outlined there today. Tav is certainly culpable. It will go down as a Robin proper own goal, but it's not completely his fault. He's got himself in a bit of a tangle as the cross has come in. As the manager said, it's bad luck that it ends up in the exact place in the goal where Jack Butland just can't get to it. If it's slightly more central, Butland saves it. So there is a degree of unfortunate there, but there's still, as you outlined there, there's problems in the build up to it, and that's what Rangers have to solve. They do still seem too easy to play against at times, too easy to play through at times. They will come up against better sides than Motherwell over the course of the season. That's not been disrespectful to a Motherwell side who, as we know, down to the bare bones, or had to make a change up front in that first half as well. There's issues, I think, with Rangers defensively. That's been the case throughout pre-season. Really interesting to see if, as you outlined, does the manager go back in and try and sign another centre half, unless someone moves on, probably Ben Davies. It's hard to see. I don't think Davies has had a great start to the season. I don't think John Souttar has had a great start to the season. Proper, we know, will come in, and the more he plays, it should get better. He's going to be one of those two centre halves. The rest of them, it's much for muchness. I think if you have to do a straw poll of people, they'd probably pick Leon Balogun to play alongside him on Tuesday night. Balogun's probably the one that I would pick as well, but that's not a long-term solution. That's not a guy who you can say will play 50 games over the course of the season. So it's still an area that, if the finances are available, there is other parts of this side, as we discussed as we're walking up the stairs from the auditorium here. You're looking at another midfielder, we're looking at potentially another striker, certainly another wide option. Centre half isn't perhaps top of that list, but a centre half could make such a difference over the course of the season, because it's an area that Rangers do look vulnerable in.
Yeah, and I guess just on your point there as well about Ridvan's role in the lead up to the goal in midweek. It's actually, I think, the origin point of that goal and the origin point of the goal today is a mistake in a similar area of the field. But once, again, because the way that Rangers are pressed, and if you look at the lead up to that goal as well, because there's so much space, because they're not orientated around the ball, that once you do make an error there, you can concede an attack pretty quickly. And it was a cross that led to both goals. Obviously, a slightly better finish in Kiev from Kiev than Robin Proper today. But let's talk about some positives from the first half. I asked the manager, as you say, about Connor Barron, simply because I was watching that game today and I was thinking that Barron was up there for me alongside Cherney for man of the match. Listen, I don't think he's come in and looked as if he's going to solve every single one of Rangers' midfield issues. What he has done is he's come in and look like, if you were to watch this Rangers team for the first time today, you wouldn't point at him and say he's someone who actually was on the bench quite a lot at Aberdeen last season and wasn't a part of the squad. He plays like one of the leaders, takes responsibility. Just the benefit of having another real athlete in the team, someone who can get around the pitch so quickly and win duels. There's one moment in the first half where he not only stopped a Motherwell counter attack down by the dugouts, but he managed to keep the ball in.
I think he started another phase of play.
Yeah, at the same time, a comment here saying it was an excellent first half. Cherney and Barron were tremendous. So Connor Barron first, Chris, and then Václav Cherney, who he looked really good, didn't he? Especially in that first half. Real quality in what he brought on the ball, but also the fact that he wasn't only receiving wide, he was receiving the ball in that narrow half space position from where he scored earlier in the game. He'd played a ball through to Scott Wright, which looked as if it would have created the opener before the opener was eventually created. But he just looked like, again, to go back to midweek, a round peg in a round hole, a right winger doing what a right winger should do. And it was a moment of probably the best moment of quality of the game to eventually score the winner for Rangers.
On Barron, I think he's come in and he's hit the ground running. And when you are signing as many players as Rangers have and are in this window, you need players who can do that. You need players who just come in and say, I'm going to play. This is my jersey. This is my spot. This is what I can bring to the side. Is he going to be the next Stephen Davis? I would highly doubt it. But
as anyone,
as anyone, but you have to give him credit for what he's done. I do think Rangers need another central midfielder, even once Nicholas Raskin is back in the squad. I do think we do need another option in there just to give us a bit of depth. But Barron he's done what's been asked. He's done what's required of him so far and deserves full credit for that. Cherney, as you say, that goal, it was a real moment of quality. The pass that he played, coming inside and playing that through the Motherwell defence, it deserved the goal. It deserved a better finish than Scott Wright going round and then being blocked, and also Dessers couldn't quite scramble home after that. That pass deserved to be an assist on his. We'll do these pieces over the course of the season, and you'll say, well, he should have had 2 assists in 2 games. The cross on Tuesday night was a moment of quality that gave Rangers a big moment. That one deserved it as well. Didn't quite get it, but just a few minutes later, as you say, coming in from that right hand side, you almost know, even this early on in his Rangers career, you know the areas that he's going to attack, you know the areas he's going to try and get into. But I think it's encouraging that he's not just going in and then trying to play a wee reverse pass or trying to find someone else who's willing to take on that responsibility himself, thinking, I've got the quality to find that corner. And it was a wonderful finish. A few more like that, and he will become a fan favourite very, very quickly.
Yeah, and you could see him tiring, but just again, as we referenced in midweek, the fact that Clement has played with wingers. He's played with wide players the whole time he's been at the club, even when he's not had wide players, which I think tells you just how much
set in his ways he is.
Yeah. If you're being a critic, no, I think that's part of that's true. But ideally, what type of system he wants to play? He wants ball carriers. He wants out and out wingers, and Cherney certainly looked like that to me. You'll be able to hear from him tomorrow in the embargoed section of the press conference, and he spoke a little bit about his goal, offered some interesting insight into that. A lot of comments, Chris, about the fact that Danilo did not come off the bench. One here saying, why isn't Danilo getting game time? Clement was actually asked about that in yesterday's press conference, and he just said it'll take him time to come back from a serious injury, and it's easier to give him minutes in a game where there's not much riding on it. Where if Rangers had gone 3-1 up, I think Danilo would have come on. The issue is Rangers haven't really been in comfortable winning positions over the course of the past week. But I guess that is still a concern, that one of the criticisms of Rangers transfer window so far has been that they've spent this money on Hamza Igamani, who may well turn out to be a really good player for Rangers. But at the moment, it does feel like they only have one striking option up top, and Dessers has 2 goals and 3. He maybe should have had 3 goals and 3, but he started the season overall well. I guess the worry would be if you're trying to chase a goal on Tuesday night, is Danilo going to be ready for that, having not played a part at all this week?
I do understand where the manager's coming from. It is easier, obviously, to give someone minutes, as you say. If this afternoon had unfolded differently and Rangers had got that third goal, I think we would have seen Danilo get a game. But he needs match minutes. He needs time on the pitch. The manager spoke, as you say, on Friday about patience. That's something that's in very short supply at Rangers at the best of times, and certainly during a run like this, as you've outlined, they're putting a lot of faith in Cyril Dessers. Now we have seen last season that he is robust, that he can put together a number of minutes over a number of games, over a number of weeks. That's a positive, but Rangers are short of alternatives. They basically don't have an alternative. Now, Igaman has also been pictured in terms of first team training over the last couple of days, but you have to imagine he's even further away than Danilo in terms of being ready to come in. So it's that balancing act. When do Rangers get Danilo on the pitch? I actually spoke to him out in pre-season, and I think it's important to remember how difficult an injury it is to come back from and how long he was out for. You have to have all that in mind. But
and he had 2. He had a pretty severe injury before that as well.
It's not been an easy start to his Rangers career, but at some point you just have to put him in. He has to be trusted to go and get these minutes. Would he have made a difference in the last 10, 15 today? Would he have got that third goal? Probably not, because Rangers were by that stage a bit ragged. If it's just 15 minutes just to run about and to get challenged and to have that feel of first team football, would that have been beneficial? If it's 15 minutes that you can take Cyril off and he then doesn't have to get barged about and doesn't have to do the closing down run, does that then benefit him? So I think that as the games are ticked off, this Danilo question will raise its head more and more often, because at some point the manager has to be able to trust him to actually go and put in a shift for an hour or to get through 90 minutes, because it's unrealistic to expect Dessers to do it time after time.
Yeah, and just finally, a question from Day in the Life. Would you play Ridvan and Chefty on Tuesday? We spoke about this pre-match, the fact that it was Scott Wright in there over Chefty. If Clement had a fully fit squad today, I know Oscar Cortez is injured. I imagine it's just a case again of trying to build Chefty up and build his minutes up. I would expect him to start on Tuesday night. We'll build up to the game, obviously, because it's press conference day on Monday as well. But if I was to put you on the spot right now, you'd expect Chefty to come back in. Probably an argument that the midfield that ended the game here starts the game on Tuesday as well, with Sterling coming into the middle, and you've got to. Cherney only played 55 minutes today. You've got to expect that he comes back in, especially given it's the League Cup at the weekend here against St Johnstone. You've got to expect that Cherney starts on the right on Tuesday as well.
I would hope so. I think Cherney plays. I think Jefty plays. I think Sterling plays, and I think Leon Balogun plays. I think that's there's. I know we're not going to put our teams out until Tuesday morning. If I change my mind before Tuesday morning, you can come back and give me a hard time. But no, I think that's I imagine that's how Rangers will line up, and also the rest of the team just as it was today. When you get to this stage and a game of this importance, I know the manager has stressed it again that he has to be careful with players. He can't put too much load on certain players. There's potentially tens of millions of pounds riding on the game on Tuesday night. Rangers need to put their strongest side on the pitch. For me, the strongest side right now does not include Scott Wright playing wide left. That's not an option. Now, there is no perfect option because Cortez is out. Manager has to find a solution, and I'd be surprised if Jefty is not that solution.
We shall see. Listen, we're going to, of course, bring you loads more coverage in the lead up to coming back here on Tuesday night for Rangers against Dynamo Kyiv. So stick with us for that. Loads of content to come your way on the website tomorrow as well. If you've not subscribed to the Rangers Review, you can do so. We've also got a new season sale starting on Monday, so keep your eyes peeled for that too. But until then, thank you for joining us as ever. We'll speak to you on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.